Honestly, for me, I think I was just like waking up early with my friends, and then we were just like playing spike ball on like odd square or something, like nine square or something they called it, and it was just being able to enjoy time with them in like the early hours of the day with like no one around.
I mean, one of my favorite parts is just like the polar slide. I just liked how good it felt when I jumped into the cold water.
Activity-wise, I like the polar wash a lot. That was fun. I think that was the best part. It was like, bonding experience of being miserable.
For me, I think the most fun part of camp was listening to the last sermon that he gave on Sunday morning. And it was basically about like making disciples and sharing God with your friends. And I think that's like really impactful for me especially, because I've always had trouble like sharing the gospel. Even though I've like grown up in church my whole life, it's hard for me to tell my friends about like Jesus, because I go to like a public school, so it's hard to like tell people about Jesus when like everyone's opinions are like so different. So just seeing like everyone else have like the same struggles as me and like struggling to like tell people the gospel and knowing that like we could be in it together, like that was really like helpful for me.
For me, it was the sermon on Saturday night. I mean, talking about how it's hard sometimes being a Christian, you think that you're going to have no free time, but also like just regular things like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to have time for this. I'm not going to have time for that. But there is time for Jesus. There is fun times, and
Yeah, the message was amazing, actually. It felt like he was talking straight at me, very personal to me. Talk about giving your life to Jesus, like showing him every part of yourself, even the bad parts.
Honestly, I think it was just the quiet time, being able to just spend some time with my friends and read a couple like chapters in the Bible. It helped me remind me like what I need to prioritize in my life and how to put that actually forward in my day-to-day activities.
I'd say it helped me out by just the way that they taught, and like they just explained a couple of things a little bit better, like the workshops, for example. They did go into more depth into like certain topics I want to learn about.
I came closer, I have doubts sometimes with God, oh, like, what about this? What about that? Family members dying. Why is there suffering, And I mean, I went to a class for why is there suffering? If there's suffering, why is there God? And, that hit me deep to the heart, changing my life of, like, trajectory. Like, yeah, there is questions for God, but, there's still a path that he can take you on in life and that he'll be with you the whole way.
Camp helped me spiritually because it gave me like the knowledge I needed to know to defend my faith, and it like taught me a lot of things about like Jesus and like how I don't need to have everything like figured out. I don't need to be like the perfect Christian to be able to follow Jesus and encourage others to do the same.
It helped me to think about things that I wouldn't have thought of had I not gone to camp. Like, I'd always thought of myself as like I put a lot of effort into my relationship with God, but camp kind of made me realize that I could be and should be doing more.
Definitely that sermon, as a pastor's kid, definitely, there's a lot of expectations and like a lot to like try to live up to. And, I've always had doubts about like being Christian and like, because I've always like been jealous of the understanding my like aunts and uncles and my dad has. But then that sermon, it just hit me so hard. I just couldn't stop crying the whole time, gave my life to Jesus that night.
A routine cabin discussion time after Saturday's message made me think of the quote from Hillsong's Hosanna, "Break my heart for what breaks yours." And I've sung that so many times, but I really felt it in that moment because I couldn't help but break down to what some of the high schoolers were going through and what they were willing to share with me. And I was really honored and touched that they would entrust me with that information and just for me to be there for them. And not just me, but God through me, yet not I, but through Christ in me. Yeah, solid camp. Wouldn't have it any other way. Until next time, until Hume.